I have to see if I can. Okay. Okay. Should be okay.
So this is for your
Yeah, that's for me to go live.
okay, your live one. Okay.
Yes. So
You're trying to see the screen.
yes. And I want it to be centered too. So as soon as you're done with the video, for now, let me mute the whole thing.
I don't know what that's beautiful. I've been finally wanting to try it. Beautiful show.
Ready? Okay, it's 3:30. We're going to get this started. I am Chaplain Gary. I'm going to pull this down right now as I stand back safely from you. I'm Chaplain Gary, and perhaps you have some knowledge of me so far from perhaps even a Thursday night Vesper that you may have listened to, or you might have run across me in the Advocate newsletter that comes out on Fridays. A number of articles have come across so far, including one today that might bring a laugh to you. I don't know. But we're here. This is a series we're calling Thriving in Challenging Times. We met with the foundation, and they are interested in things that can be done to improve life here on the campus, on the community. And so we're going to just go through this whole series. The overall title of it again is Thriving in Challenging Times. A number of things are happening around us in our country. Looking at the news, a number of concerns that are there. And at the same time, you're here, and we thought we'd open up with a series that is maybe 2 or 3 videos, TED Talks, on the topic of loneliness. And so today, we're going to launch into A Simple Cure for Loneliness by Valia Vos. You'll see in a minute or so coming up. 13 minutes it is, so it's not that long. It'll be followed by a time of some discussion. I'll ask you a few questions, and you'll be able to talk back to each other about this experience and what you're gathering from this. So, is Max?
You just have to put in your password again, Gary.
Okay.
Loneliness is an emotional state that we have when we're feeling disconnected. But our need for connection is ingrained in our DNA. Loneliness is a signal, just like fight or flight, that something isn't right. Loneliness is a public health crisis. But 1 in 5 Americans suffer from loneliness, which means if you haven't personally suffered from loneliness, it's almost guaranteed that somebody you know closely has. It can cause depression, and it can even lead to premature death. But now more than ever, we're living alone. We're spending more time online and less time making meaningful in-person connections. So when emotional storms hit, things like losing a job or going through a divorce or a death, instead of leaning in towards our communities, we've learned to suffer alone. So today I'm going to offer one solution that will bring us more connection and can help cure the epidemic. When I was a kid, I had a really hard time fitting in. I wanted to do whatever I could to belong and to not feel lonely. All I wanted was to find connection. So my oh-so-wise adolescent self came up with a solution. I was going to be popular. I carried this thought process throughout my teens, but the problem was the more I wanted to be popular, the more it fueled my need for attention and approval. And when I was 20 years old, as fate would have it, auditions for MTV's reality show, The Real World, came into town. Now, for a girl still starving for approval and attention, this was my ticket. Now, for some of us, when we think about reality TV, we don't really have that strong of a reaction. Never really watched it, don't quite get what all the fuss is about. But for others of us, we do have a strong reaction when we think about reality TV, and we generally fall into one of two camps. The first camp is like, you literally could not pay me enough to go on a reality TV show. In fact, reality TV is everything that is wrong with our society today. And then the second camp is like, go on a reality TV show? Honey, I should have my own reality TV show. I would be the next Snooki for sure. But with a history like mine, I'll give you one guess which camp I fell into. And at 21 years old, I moved to Brooklyn as part of 7 strangers picked to live in a house. I love this quote by Jim Carrey. He says, I think everybody should get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed of, so they can see that it's not the answer. But how many of you have gone after a goal based off of the feelings you thought you would feel once you accomplished that goal? The real world didn't bring me connection like I thought it would. In fact, if anything, I was lonelier than I had ever been during those 15 minutes of fame. But this lesson propelled me into the work I do now, studying connection. And whether it's the events I produce, or the show that I host, or the coaching sessions I have, everything exists to create connection. Because here I am now, my oh-so-wise adult self, searching for what actually creates connection. And here's what I found. In order to feel connected, we need to feel seen, heard, and valued. You may have heard of blue zones. Blue zones are areas all over the world where researchers have found that people live the longest and happiest lives. So everybody does this differently. Communities in like Loma Linda, California, Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy. Some pray together, while others, they walk together, and others simply spend more time nurturing relationships with their families. But the one thing that they all do in common is they prioritize connection. They focus on their relationships. What I found is that these societies have created something that I call an anchor of connection. An anchor is created simply by spending quality time with people who see, hear, and value you. But Bea, how do we create our own anchors of connection? I'm so glad you asked. The most powerful way to create an anchor is through ritual. Now, I know when we think about ritual, we generally think about religion or sacred ceremony, but today I want to redefine ritual as something that's not necessarily religious or sacred, but instead something that we're already doing on a day-to-day basis. The key to making ritual such a powerful tool for connection is that ritual is repeated action plus intention. When you combine repeated action and intention, ritual becomes ingrained in you, just like habits do. the best places to find ritual are with your friends and families, in your intimate relationships, and within your communities. Now, we've been gathering around fires forever to storytell and connect. For me and my girlfriends, our couches act as the metaphorical fire that we gather around. Every Monday night, we throw on our leggings, we head to one of our houses, we pour ourselves some rosé, we pile onto the couch, and we just talk. We've ritualized Monday nights as a time where we come to connect and fill our tanks for the rest of the week. And while plenty of Mondays, we're coming and we're talking about the things that are exciting and going well in our lives, but on lots of Mondays, we come with our tanks empty. Whether that's the small storms that have built up, just daily wear and tear, or the bigger storms, like going through a divorce or a miscarriage. But whether we're grieving or celebrating, we've ritualized Monday nights as our anchor of connection. After Monday nights, I head over to my partner's house, and we have a ritual that we've been doing for the past year or so, where before bed, we each say, "The thing I love about you most today is," and then we both say something really kind about one another. Now, easy enough to do when we're feeling in love. Not that easy to do when we're in a fight. In fact, when we first started this and we were in a fight and I would be angry, it would generally look like this. "Hey babe, do you want to do the thing I love about you, Mom?" "No." "Okay, do you want to just try it?" "Not right now, I'm not in the mood." "Okay, maybe just once." "Okay. The thing I love about you most today is how your eyes sparkle when you're wrong and I'm right." But what I could have never guessed this ritual would do is expand my capacity for kindness and compassion. And now, when we're in a fight, sometimes I even say the thing I love about him most first. It's this ritual that has carried us through our storms. So when our fights could just as easily disconnect us and leave us both feeling lonely, instead we ritualized our anchor of connection. You know, it's interesting, now that I know what blue zones are, whenever I'm traveling, I'm always looking for blue zone qualities. And recently, I took a trip to France with some of the same girlfriends who I spend Monday nights with. Landing in Paris was amazing and exactly like you'd think it was if you've never been. The cobblestone streets, the shutters, the windowsills with the flowers, the bakeries whispering, "Screw you, gluten-free diet. You're not welcome here." In France, meals are rituals. So dinners, for instance, they start later and last longer. And whether it's 2 people or 10 people, you sit down and you enjoy the meal for at least 2 hours, and usually 3. The food takes a long time, no phones are out. And when the meal is over, you sit and you talk some more. Day in and day out, the French go back to the table for their ritualized anchor of connection. Our last stop in France was Nice. We arrived 12 hours after the Bastille Day attack, where the truck driver drove through the fireworks celebration, tragically killing 84 people. It would have been so easy for everybody to retreat, to disconnect, to suffer alone. But instead, what we saw were storefronts and restaurants opening their doors. And even just 12 hours after complete tragedy, people went back to the table. They went back to their ritual. We weren't in the mood to go out that night. So we went back to the apartment. We put on our leggings. We poured ourselves some rosé. We piled onto the couch and we just talked. We went back to our ritual. Because in the face of a storm, in the face of disaster, in the face of complete tragedy, ritual acts as your anchor of connection. Now, my core desire to be liked and approved of, it might never go away, just like your core desires might not either. But what I know now that I didn't know when I was 20 years old, praying that the real world was my answer to loneliness and my ticket to connection, is that connection isn't created by the things we go get. Connection is created by the things we go back to. So my invitation to you today is simple. Don't do something new. Find something you're already doing with your friends and families, or in your intimate relationships, or within your communities. And do that thing over and over and over again. Do it with intention. Do it during the good times, and do it during the mundane. So when the inevitable emotional storms hit, you have your ritual to go back to. You have your very own anchor of connection. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. What strikes me is any of these TED Talks that you would be a part of are all BC discussions of things. BC meaning before Corona. So her key concept, what was her key concept, you think? What was the word that jumped out many, many times? What did she say? It starts with a C. What was it again? Connection. If there is loneliness, it's because perhaps there's a lack of connection. And here it is, here we are here today, and you can't run over to some friend's house and flop on the sofa. You can't gather around a big table with friends anymore and have a big dinner. So how in the world are we going to achieve connection? Any ideas about that? Here we are in our own environment here. By the way, I've been hearing that 1 out of 5 people are experiencing loneliness, right? So looking around here, I think, okay, now, and looking right here. So somebody here today, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 of you ought to be experiencing, according to the statistics, some degree of loneliness. Maybe more of us doing it right now. But if connection is the answer, trying to reach out to somebody else, how can we accomplish that with the conditions we have right now, the coronavirus, worrying?
By telephone.
By telephone.
We have the directory here. We could call everybody in the book and just find out how they're doing, or let them talk.
Anybody use the telephone that way these days? You just got to call somebody? Yeah, you can. It's very practical. Maybe somebody, may not want to be bothered, I don't know, but you can reach out to people to deal with your own loneliness. Somebody else has an idea. How are we going to deal with or achieve connection right now in this period that we're in with the coronavirus? Yes.
Well, this is just a little embroidery over what she said, having to do with FaceTime, which is on some phones and you can see the person, which makes it a little bit more of a connection. Also with Zooming.
I have a question. What if I said to you, although loneliness comes to us, different examples of this, people experience death, loneliness can come that way. people can, a person can lose a job, or something else happens in their family, and loneliness comes that way. But what I say to you, it's a choice you make. What's your reaction to that? What do you think about that? Yes.
It is, every day is a choice. Every day the attitude is a choice.
Say it again.
Don't touch the mic.
I said, every day your attitude is a
It's
choice.
a choice.
And, I'm speaking for myself. I have to reframe my thinking.
Yes.
Sometimes moment to moment, sometimes I have a bad day, I go to sleep with, oh, good God, not another bad day, but in the morning, I have another chance to start again.
Yeah. Somebody else. Is it a choice we're making? It has come to us. It's going to come to everybody at some point, some reason. But to be in a lonely state where you're there, and this, we're going to call it bad loneliness. Is it a choice we're making?
Kathy, Gary, actually, we're very fortunate here because we have two viable anchors of connection.
Yes.
The first one being the Thursday night vespers, and people here have a choice. And then many of us have our Friday night Shabbat service.
Yes.
For us, that is an absolute ritual. We go to that usually prepared in our own way, and it is meaningful. We remind each other, we share, and it's a sense of connection. We know all of us are watching the program at the same time. As you say, it's choice, and we have it. We have wonderful choices here, thanks to you and to what's being provided.
Thank you very much. What she's talking about is that I can be in the state. I can have this problem, which is, they're calling it an epidemic. You can have that. But to come out of it, I must decide somehow to perhaps act against myself. What if I'm an introvert? And I'm inclined to be a loner. On the one hand, loneliness can be, in some people's mind, a good thing. I don't want to be bothered with you at all. I'm glad you're there and I'm glad I'm here. But if it's bad loneliness, I got to do something to reach out beyond myself, to reach out to where people are, and that can be a tremendous challenge. I was in seminary and the prof said, you got to meet people. What? Yeah, you got to meet people. What if you struggle to meet people? What do you do then?
I don't quite understand what Elaine said about watching the, I don't understand what Elaine said about watching the Friday night service by yourself in your home is a connection.
Elaine?
Connection is that many of us, in fact, all of us here that are Jewish, all of us all over the world that wish to observe the ritual are, in fact, doing it together, just as many things that we do together in ritual. So to that extent, yes, we are connected.
Let me ask you this, Elaine. Let's say you watch it, but is there a second action where you talk about it with each other? That is on the phone or somewhere you see somebody and you talk about your experience.
First of all, we do feedback,
Yes.
as you know. Feedback to you from your Vesper service, feedback from us for the Shabbat service. So there's feedback to you back and forth to those of us that watch. And definitely between us, many of us have, for example, we have phone contact. There's a whole list, and I call number two calls number three, and so on. Otherwise, we will email
each other to say whatever. We use the many methods of connection, and the actual observance or ritual is simply the epitome of it, or highlight. Thanks.
Can I answer that?
Elaine, these were all people that you were connected with before. You all belong to the same congregation. I can understand that. You're connecting in that and the people that you know. But what about somebody who's lonely and are not really connected to this group? Okay. How can they get connected?
Yeah, her question it has to do with, again, what can a person do as a first step, as Lorraine's easy step? Something you can do to resist the loneliness, to kind of break out of it, you gotta come to it.
I think this presentation, to me at least, is very simplistic, no wrong. So I look around the room here and I see widows, I see people who are single. They've got a tough job in ordinary circumstances. We're lucky to have Eddie Delray South to deal with that because we have a community here. But our community is broken by reason of coronavirus, and we're pretty much stuck in our own rooms. Now, you can get on Facebook if that floats your boat, it doesn't float mine. But that's no substitute with being with a person. Any of these means, whether it's Facebook or Zoom or whatever, to me is like trying to kiss a woman with a veil on. It's not the same experience. So I think it's a real serious problem here. And I don't think that these so-called rituals that this speaker was talking about are really a great answer.
Right, exactly. What she's talking about is what she's able to do, as I said a minute ago, like BC as in before Corona. Do that, but here we are, right now, where we are here, and the challenge is still in front of us. What can you do? What must you do to fight back, resist it, to step out of this place, to choose, to reach out beyond yourself, particularly when you're inclined to, as a loner, you're inclined to be afraid, and you say to yourself, how do I meet somebody? What am I going to do to reach somebody else? That's our challenge right now, to do just that.
I think that in answer to Henrietta, though, is she's saying something to Elaine about people she's known for years, all right? But what about the people that Henrietta has met here at Abbey that they could be discussing the Friday night services? And that would take care of somebody else's loneliness, to find out what they think about the services. I mean, it just is a phone call. If I weren't here now, I would be sitting on the breezeway with quite a number of people. Just talking about things, being with other people, sharing things.
Mike.
Mike, closer. It's scary. Take that one out.
Let me hold the mic for you. Let me hold it. No, you're okay. Go ahead.
Okay. I began to say that if I weren't here right now, I would be on the breezeway with quite a number of other women with their waters, sitting there, talking to them, sharing thoughts, playing word games, and this certainly breaks up the day. Yes, most of us spent about an hour or an hour and a half there, and it works very nicely. And aside from that, the idea of telephone calls, making connections that way, of using the computer, sending messages is all very helpful. I know I'm not experiencing any loneliness.
Very good. How many of you know each other? Does anybody know everybody? Pretty much or what?
Yes.
So what I'm really getting at is right now, how much connection is already in this room? Where you seem to know each other's names now. I'm on that thing where I don't know everybody's name. But it seems that most of you know each other's names. So now I'm thinking, I said, well, it could just be that you're here. You're not somewhere else. You chose to come here. And it could well be that you decide that you're going to get to know somebody else in this room better because of just today. You know them a little bit. You know them when you see them. But maybe you don't know them up close. So it could be a challenge to you to say, I'm going to get to know that person over there. I want to meet them. I want to call them. I'll see them somewhere in passing, and perhaps I can begin connection that way. It is a challenge. It's a challenge. Anybody else?
Yes, I make it a point to get out of my apartment at least twice a day. I take a walk around the property. Sometimes I see people, sometimes I don't, but it's definitely important to me to get out of my apartment at least 2 to 3 times a day. And whatever is available for me to go to, I do it.
I have a question. Is loneliness a battle different between men and women? You think so? How so?
Women tend to chat more frequently.
Say that again?
I think women tend to chat more frequently. Conversationalists, they're used to chatting with their friends.
So you're saying that there may be more of a chance for a connection between women
Yes.
because you're what?
Now, I come down about 2 or 3, maybe 4 times a day and sit in the lounge and just talk to people as they go by. It really keeps me going.
Well, what about our lonely men? What
They
do
don't come
men
down,
do?
they don't come down. I'm there, they like to come.
I disrespect. Now, this is just a thought now. It dawned on me at one point that I don't have that many real friends. I don't. I have 2 guys in my life I talk to sort of all the time. One in Philadelphia, another is in Atlanta, Georgia. But here in town, where I live, for whatever reason, I don't have that many male connections. Is it a choice I'm making? Maybe.
Eugene.
But I would say to myself, well, Gary, if that's what it is, maybe it's your choice that you're controlling it some kind of way. I don't really know. Somebody else was commenting. Question. We got a few more minutes, so we're gonna try to maybe get out by, well, let's see. We'll give it a few more minutes, but somebody else. Elaine.
Well, the problem is you're a man.
That's not a problem.
Men have different interests and capabilities, and very few men have close friends, and they don't call each other, and they act differently. If I go up to you and say, Harry, that's a beautiful speaker. I think I'd be in big trouble. If you have 2 male friends you're in close contact with, I think you're doing well.
Now, what about this? Now, what happens when I don't want to reveal myself because of reasons. Can I fight loneliness being that way if I'm not interested in being to some degree vulnerable? One answer proposed by someone said, well, you meet somebody and you gotta be willing to tell something about yourself. Engage in some degree of vulnerability to say, this is who I am. And it can't just be surface and the weather and hurricane season. But when you dare to go a little deeper, just for example, Friday was coming, which is here now. I'm supposed to write an article for the Advocate. All right. It's Wednesday. I am as dry as as dead wood somewhere. I have no ideas. So I'm saying, man, Friday's coming, Advocate coming up. What about Labor Day? You can't do article on Labor Day. Well, it's Labor Day, isn't it? Like that. So Betty says, tell one of your funny stories. I said, really? She said, you got funny stories. Tell a funny story. All right. How many of you here today know what funny story I told you? Elaine says, yeah. She's like, no, he didn't tell that story. Well, what I've been doing, I think, is as I meet you in that Vesper, as I meet you in that Advocate, you'll notice that I'm choosing to reveal myself a little bit as we go. You're knowing you find out things about me as we go. And I thought, well, I told a funny story. I try to make a spiritual connection at the end of it. But the upshot of it is that you see me, you say, oh, he's the guy that has the blank. Elena saying, yeah, I know what the blank is, But it's just risking a little bit of vulnerability to say to you, here's who I am, which to me is sort of new for me. It's not that way historically, but I'm challenging myself to say, well, here's a little bit about me. I want you to get to know me, a little bit more about me. That's who I am. Anybody else? If you're going to deal with it, it's a choice we're making. It's a choice we're making to resist it, fight it, deal with it. We have coronavirus giving us restrictions. We can't hop on the sofa with our friends. We can't gather around a meal with our friends anymore right now. But there are things we still can do. Taking advantage of what's available here at Avenue South. Taking advantage of programs that you might be able to join in. Lorraine's idea of a phone call to somebody, where you meeting somebody along the way. Gloria meeting with ladies out there, she's talking to people. But where we're saying to ourselves, I don't want to stay right here. I want to reach up from beyond myself, make a connection with somebody else that I don't already know, or somebody that I do know, because loneliness does not have to be my ticket. Somebody else want to vote for us? We're going to do another one next Friday. We may do 2 or 3 of these, I don't know, but certainly we'll do one more on loneliness with some practical ideas involved. And so hopefully you will join us again, or others, friends of yours might join us next Friday. I think it's at, the time is, was it 3:30? There may be 2 of them, but certainly there'll be one at 3:30 next Friday. We'll be here. Same thing. Okay. Very good. Thank you for coming, and I'll see you around, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you very much.
It's great seeing you make the round. I see you every day. I didn't let you went back to your house.
I know.